This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hey everyone, good to see you back here again.
Yeah, appreciate you tuning in. We've actually got something a bit different for today's episode.
We do. So instead of the usual setup, we're bringing in Matthew and Rachel to run the show this time around.
They'll be covering something that honestly comes up in pretty much every conversation you have when meeting someone. Just talking about your life, really. Where you're at, what you're dealing with, the good stuff and the not so good stuff.
And look, we've been reading through your comments, and a lot of you have been asking about the actual difference between sounding like a B1 speaker versus a B2 speaker. What makes someone sound more natural, more fluent?
So, Matthew and Rachel are going to work that into the episode as they go. You'll see how small shifts can change the whole feel of how you come across.
All right, over to them. Matthew, Rachel, you're up.
Thanks, guys. We'll take it from here. Hey, everyone. Excited to be jumping in today. Now, Rachel, before we dive into the main topic, I've been meaning to ask, did you end up going to that concert last weekend?
Oh, I did, yeah. It was brilliant, actually. The venue was tiny, like maybe 200 people max, so you could really feel the energy. Have you been to the garage before?
Once, ages ago. I remember it being absolutely packed, though. Who was playing?
This indie band from Bristol. A friend dragged me along, and honestly, I didn't know their stuff beforehand, but they were incredible live. One of those nights where you just forget about everything else for a bit.
That's the best kind. I haven't been to a proper gig in months, to be fair. I keep saying I will and then just don't.
Classic. You need to just commit and buy the ticket. That's what I do. Otherwise, I'd never go anywhere.
Fair point. All right, so shall we actually get into what we're here for?
Yeah, let's do it. So if you're listening to this, chances are you've had that moment where you meet someone new and they ask about you. And it sounds simple enough, right? But there's a difference between answering that question at a basic level and actually having a proper conversation about your life.
Exactly. Because when you're at a B1 level, you can get your point across. You can say what you do, mention a few things about yourself. But at B2, you're not just listing facts anymore. You're telling a story. You're connecting ideas. You're showing how things relate to each other.
And that's what we're focusing on today. We'll walk through real examples of how people talk about their lives, the highs, the lows, the everyday stuff. And we'll show you what takes it from I can communicate to I can actually hold a conversation.
Because honestly, it's not about memorizing fancy words. It's about flow. It's about sounding like yourself, just in English. And we'll break down exactly what that looks like as we go.
So stick with us. We'll keep it practical. And by the end, you'll have a much clearer picture of how to talk about your own life in a way that feels natural.
So before we get into our first bit of audio, I think it's worth talking about something that happens all the time, starting a new job.
Oh, yeah. That first week when everyone's asking about you, where you worked before, what you did. It's basically your elevator pitch on repeat.
Exactly. And this is where you really notice the difference between B1 and B2. Because at B1, people tend to just list things. I worked at a bank. I was a manager. I helped customers. And look, it gets the point across, but it's flat. There's no life to it.
Right. Whereas at B2, you're painting a picture. You might say something like, I was actually running a small team at a bank. Mostly I handled high-end clients and oversaw the loan process. Same information, completely different feel.
And a lot of that comes down to the verbs you choose. At B2, you're using words like handled, oversaw, coordinated, managed. They're more specific, more dynamic. Instead of just I helped, you're showing what you actually did.
There's also this thing with how you frame your role. B1 speakers often use simple past. I worked on projects. But at B2, you'll hear more past continuous for describing what you were generally doing. I was working on expanding our client base. It sounds more ongoing, more involved.
And then there's how you tell the story of how you got there. B1 tends to be very step by step. I saw the ad on LinkedIn, I sent my CV, they called me. It's like a timeline.
Yeah, but at B2, you make it into an actual story. It's funny, actually. I wasn't really looking, but a friend referred me. One thing led to another, and I ended up getting an interview. See what I mean? It flows.
Absolutely. And you're using these great connectors. It turns out, as it happens, end up with the ing form. Those little phrases make everything sound so much more natural and conversational.
Exactly. So with all that in mind, let's listen to our first audio. You'll hear two colleagues chatting. One's just started at the company, the other's been there for a while. And you'll notice the new guy is speaking more at a B1 level, while his colleague shows more of that B2 fluency we've been talking about. Just listen to how they each described things and see if you can spot the differences.
All right, here we go.
So, Reese, how's your first week been then? You settling in all right?
Yeah, it's good. The office is nice, the people are friendly. I like it.
Good stuff. And you were working in marketing before this, weren't you? What were you doing there exactly?
Yes, I worked at an advertising company. I was a junior designer. I made social media posts. Sometimes I helped with websites too.
Right, nice. So was that your first proper job out of uni, or?
No, before that, I worked at a coffee shop. I was there for 1 year. Then I saw a job online and I applied. They called me and I got the job.
Fair enough, straight to the point. I like it. Yeah, I did a similar thing, actually. I wasn't really planning to get into this field, but a mate of mine was working here and basically wouldn't stop going on about how good it was, so I thought, you know what, why not give it a shot?
Oh, interesting. And you worked here for a long time?
Coming up on 4 years now, yeah. Time flies, doesn't it? I started out in a pretty junior role, just handling admin stuff mostly, but over time I ended up taking on more responsibility. Now I'm overseeing a couple of projects and managing a small team.
That's good. So you like your job?
Yeah, I do actually. I mean, it has its moments, you know. There are days when everything's going wrong and you just want to throw your laptop out the window. But on the whole, yeah, I'm enjoying it. What about you? What made you want to switch from the advertising thing? Well, I wanted to try something new. The old job was okay, but it was boring sometimes. I wanted more challenges. Yeah, I get that. You want to feel like you're actually developing, right? Not just doing the same thing over and over.
Yes, exactly. And also the salary was not good. Here is better.
Well, yeah, that definitely helps, doesn't it? Money's not everything, but it certainly makes life easier. So what's been the biggest difference for you so far, coming from advertising into this?
I think the work is more fast. Everything happens quickly here. At my old job, we had more time for projects. Here, the deadlines are very short.
Yeah, the pace can be intense, can't it? I remember when I first started, I was absolutely drowning in deadlines. It took me a while to figure out how to manage my time properly, but you get used to it. Are you finding it overwhelming, or?
A little bit, yes, but I think I will learn. My manager is helpful, so that's good.
Oh, Emma's brilliant, yeah. She's really good at explaining things and making sure you've got what you need. If you're ever stuck with anything, honestly, just ask her. She'd much rather you check than mess something up, you know?
Yes, she told me that. She seems nice.
She is, yeah. And the rest of the team's pretty sound, too. Have you met everyone yet?
Most people, yes. Yesterday I met the design team. They were friendly. We talked about our old jobs and yeah, it was nice.
Good, good. It's always easier when people are welcoming, isn't it? Some places you start and everyone's just got their headphones on, completely ignoring you. But yeah, this lot are decent. We usually go for drinks on a Friday after work if you fancy joining sometime.
Oh, that sounds good. Yes, I can come.
Brilliant. I'll give you a shout next week then. Right, I should probably get back to this presentation I'm supposed to be finishing. But yeah, good chatting to you, mate.
Yes, thank you. See you later.
Cheers. See you around.
All right, so that was Callum and Reese. What did you notice there, Matthew?
Well, the contrast was pretty clear, wasn't it? Reese was getting his points across. You understood everything he said, but it was very direct. I worked at a company, I made posts, the salary was not good.
Exactly. Whereas Callum was using phrases like, I ended up taking on more responsibility, or coming up on 4 years now. He's creating a conversation, not just answering questions.
And did you catch how Callum used fillers and hedging? Things like you know, I mean, on the whole. That's what makes him sound natural. Reese was more straightforward, which is fine, but it lacks that conversational rhythm.
Right, and verb choice again. Reese said the work is more fast, but Callum would say the pace can be intense. It's more sophisticated without being complicated.
Exactly. Small shifts, big difference.
Okay, before we move on, if you're finding this useful, do us a favor and leave a comment. Let us know what you're struggling with or what you'd like us to cover next. And hit that like button if you're enjoying the episode. It genuinely helps us out.
Definitely. All right, so let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about discussing your past work, but what about where you are right now, your current situation, how you got here, maybe some reflection on the decisions that brought you to this point?
Yeah, this comes up all the time when you're getting to know someone. So, what are you up to these days? Or how's life treating you? And again, there's a real difference in how B1 and B2 speakers handle this.
At B1, it tends to be quite static. Now I live in New York. I have lived here for 2 years. It is good. You're stating facts, but there's no real sense of journey or process.
But at B2, you're painting that picture again. I've been living in New York for a couple of years now. It's been a huge adjustment, but I finally settled in. See how that brings it to life?
And a lot of that is down to using present perfect continuous, I've been living, instead of I have lived. It creates this sense of ongoing experience, like your life is still unfolding, rather than just being a list of completed events.
Plus, expressions like settled in, that's such a natural way to talk about adapting to a new place or situation. B1 speakers might say, I am comfortable now, but I've settled in just sounds more fluent.
So, here's a question for you listening. If someone asked you right now, how's life? What have you been up to lately? Could you answer that in a way that sounds natural? Not just listing facts, but actually giving them a sense of your journey?
Yeah, have a think about that. What decisions have shaped where you are now? How would you describe your current situation without just saying, I work here, I live here, it's fine?
Because that's what we're about to hear in our next conversation. We've got 2 people, Sienna and Finley, and they're chatting about exactly this, where they are in life, the choices they've made, how things have worked out.
Finlay is going to be speaking more at that B1 level, while Sienna shows more of that B2 fluency. Listen to how each of them frames their experiences and see what stands out to you.
Right, let's hear it.
Finlay, oh my God, it's been ages. How have you been?
Hi, Sienna. Yes, long time. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad at all, actually. I've been keeping pretty busy, just trying to balance everything. What about you? Last time we spoke, you were still up in Manchester, weren't you?
Yes, I was in Manchester, but now I live in Bristol. I moved here 6 months ago.
Oh, wow, Bristol. That's a big change. What made you decide to move down there?
Well, I got a new job. The job in Manchester was not good for me. So I looked for a new job and I found one in Bristol.
Fair enough. Sometimes you just need a fresh start, don't you? I've actually been thinking about moving myself recently. I've been living in London for about 3 years now, and honestly, I'm not sure it's for me long term.
Oh, really? But you have a good job there, no?
I do, yeah. The job's great. It's more just, I don't know, the whole lifestyle here. It's expensive, it's hectic, and I've been feeling like I need something a bit calmer. I've been toying with the idea of going somewhere coastal, maybe Brighton or somewhere like that.
That sounds nice. The sea is good for relaxing.
It is, yeah. But we'll see. I haven't made any firm decisions yet. It's just something I've been mulling over. So, how are you finding Bristol then? Are you settling in okay?
Yes, I think so. At first it was difficult because I didn't know people, but now I have some friends. My colleagues are nice.
That's good. It can be tough starting over in a new place, can it? When I first moved to London, I felt completely lost for the first few months. Like I knew the city a bit from visiting, but actually living here was totally different.
Yes, exactly. It's the same for me. Everything is new and different.
Have you been exploring much? Bristol's supposed to have a really good food scene, isn't it?
Yes, there are many good restaurants. I tried some places. The food is good, but expensive.
Yeah, that's the problem everywhere these days, isn't it? I've actually been trying to cook more at home to save money. I've been experimenting with different recipes, and it's been quite fun, surprisingly.
That's good. I don't cook much. I usually buy food or eat simple things.
Nothing wrong with that. I was the same for years. So, what made you realize the Manchester job wasn't right for you? Was it the work itself or more the environment?
It was both, I think. The work was boring. I did the same things every day. And also, my boss was not very nice. So, I decided to change.
Good for you, honestly. It takes guts to leave something that's not working and start fresh somewhere else. I've been in situations where I knew I should leave, but I just stayed anyway because it felt safer, you know?
Yes, I understand. Change is scary sometimes.
It really is, but it sounds like you made the right call. Are you happier in the new role then?
Yes, much happier. The new job is more interesting. I have more responsibilities and I learn new things. It's better.
That's brilliant. There's nothing worse than feeling stuck in something that's not challenging you. I've been quite lucky with my current job. I've been working on some really exciting projects lately, which has kept me motivated. But yeah, the London thing is still nagging at me.
Maybe you should try it. If you want to move, you can move.
You're right. It's not that complicated, is it? I just need to actually commit to it rather than just thinking about it. Anyway, we should catch up properly sometime. Are you free for a coffee next week, maybe?
Yes, that would be nice. I can do Wednesday or Thursday.
Perfect. Let's say Wednesday then. I'll text you and we can sort out the details.
Okay, great. See you then.
Lovely. See you Wednesday. Take care.
Right, so Sienna and Finley there. Pretty clear difference again, wasn't it?
Yeah, and what I found interesting was how Sienna talked about her thoughts on moving. She said, I've been toying with the idea, and I've been mulling it over. Those phrases show she's in process, thinking about it. Finley just said, I decided to change.
Exactly. And Sienna used expressions like, it takes guts and it's nagging at me. Really idiomatic stuff that makes her sound natural. Finley was clear, but more literal.
I remember when I moved cities a few years back, and someone asked me why. I think I said something like, oh, just fancy to change, which, looking back, was such a vague answer. But that's the thing. At B2, you can be vague in a natural way. You don't have to explain everything in detail.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we're going to do a quick exercise now. We'll give you 2 questions, and we want you to pause and think about how you'd answer them. Then we'll show you what a B1 response might sound like versus a B2 one.
And just to be clear, this isn't a test. Your level isn't determined by 2 questions. It's just to give you a sense of how you might elevate your answers.
Right. So here's the first question. What have you been up to lately?
And the second one, why did you choose your current job or field of study?
Take a moment, think about your answers. How would you respond?
Okay, ready? Let's start with the first one. What have you been up to lately?
A B1 answer might be, I am working at a new company. I also study English in my free time. I like to watch films, too.
Which is perfectly fine. You've answered the question. But at B2, you might say, I've been settling into a new role at work, which has been keeping me pretty busy. Outside of that, I've been trying to improve my English, and I've been watching a lot of films lately to help with that.
See the difference? The B2 version connects the ideas, uses present perfect continuous, and phrases like keeping me pretty busy make it sound more conversational.
Now, the second question, why did you choose your current job or field of study?
B1. I chose this job because the salary is good. Also, I like the work. It is interesting for me.
B2, honestly, it wasn't just one thing. The salary was definitely a factor, but I was also looking for something that would challenge me and keep me engaged. This role seemed to tick all those boxes.
Again, the B2 version shows reflection. It wasn't just one thing, seemed to tick all those boxes. It sounds like you've thought about it, not just listing reasons.
Right. So if your answers were closer to the B1 examples, don't worry. Just notice what could be added to make them flow better.
Okay, so final stretch now. We're going to talk about something that comes up a lot, especially if you've moved countries or you're living somewhere new, explaining why you left, what brought you here, those bigger life decisions.
Yeah, and this is where the gap between B1 and B2 can be really obvious. Because at B1, people tend to be very direct, almost blunt. Like, I left because there are no jobs. It is dangerous. I was scared.
Which is honest, and there's nothing wrong with honesty, but it can sound a bit flat, like there's no nuance to it.
Exactly. Whereas at B2, you'd frame it differently. You might say, honestly, the situation back home was getting unstable. I reached a point where I needed peace of mind and better prospects for my future.
And what's the difference there? Well, you're using abstract nouns, instability, prospects, peace of mind, instead of just adjectives like bad or dangerous. It shows a more mature, analytical way of thinking about your experience.
Plus, phrases like, I reached a point where, that shows reflection. You're not just reacting, you're explaining a process.
So, in this final conversation, we've got Marco and Elena. They're talking about their reasons for moving, their experiences adjusting to a new country, that sort of thing. Marco's at a B2 level, Elena's more B1.
And again, just listen to how they frame their experiences. Notice the vocabulary, the way they connect their ideas.
All right, let's hear it.
So, Elena, how long have you been in the UK now?
I am here for 8 months. I came in May last year.
Right, nice. And what brought you over here, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, in my country, there are not many jobs. I studied engineering, but I could not find good work. So I decided to come here to find better opportunities.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, that's partly why I left Spain as well. The job market was just stagnant, you know? I'd been working in the same role for years, and there was just no progression. I reached this point where I thought, if I don't make a change now, I'm going to be stuck forever.
Yes, exactly. It is the same for me. And also, I wanted to improve my English. In my country, I learned English at school, but I never used it.
That's so common, isn't it? I had the same thing with my English before I moved. I could read and write okay, but actually speaking, completely different story. It took me a good 6 months of living here before I felt comfortable having proper conversations.
Yes, it is difficult. Sometimes I understand everything, but I cannot say what I want to say. It is frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. I remember that feeling. You've got all these thoughts in your head, but they just won't come out the way you want them to. But honestly, you sound pretty good to me. You're getting your point across, which is the main thing.
Thank you. So, when you came to the UK, was it difficult? Like for adapting?
Oh, mate, the first few months were rough. I'd underestimated how lonely it would be, you know? I didn't know anyone. I was living in this tiny flat and everything just felt overwhelming. The bureaucracy, trying to sort out a bank account, a phone contract, it all took forever.
Yes, the bureaucracy is crazy here. I spent 3 weeks trying to open a bank account. They wanted many documents.
Nightmare, isn't it? But eventually you get through it all and things start to feel more normal. Have you made friends here, or is it still early days?
I have some friends from work. They're nice, but I miss my family and my friends from home. Sometimes I feel sad about that.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Homesickness is real. I still get waves of it sometimes, even after 3 years. But I've found that staying connected helps. Video calls, messaging, that sort of thing. And building a life here, making new connections, that makes a big difference too.
Do you think you will stay here? Or maybe you will go back to Spain one day?
That's a good question. I honestly don't know. Part of me would love to go back eventually, but I've built so much here now. My career's progressing, I've got a solid group of friends, I'm in a relationship. It's complicated. I guess I'm taking it 1 year at a time and seeing how I feel.
That makes sense. For me, I think I want to stay here for maybe 2 or 3 years. I want to save money and get experience. Then maybe I go back home.
Fair enough. It's good to have a plan, even if it changes. Are you finding the work culture different here compared to back home?
Yes, very different. In my country, we finish work late, like 8 or 9 o'clock sometimes. Here, people finish at 5 or 6 and they go home. It is strange for me.
Yeah, I noticed that too. In Spain, everything's a bit more relaxed with time, isn't it? Here it's very structured, but I've grown to appreciate it, actually. Having that clear boundary between work and personal life has been quite nice.
Yes, I think it is good. I have more free time now.
Exactly. Well, listen, if you ever fancy grabbing a coffee or something, let me know. It's always nice to talk to someone who gets what it's like, being away from home and all that.
Yes, that would be nice. Thank you, Marco.
No worries. Take care, yeah?
You too. Bye.
So that was Marco and Elena. Again, really clear contrast there.
Yeah, and you could hear how Marco framed his experiences. The job market was stagnant. I had underestimated how lonely it would be. I've built so much here now. Elena was communicating fine, but Marco was adding layers to his story.
Exactly. And I think that's a good moment to talk about something important. The jump from B1 to B2 isn't as massive as people think it is.
Right. It's not like you suddenly need to learn 10,000 new words or memorize entirely new grammar rules.
It's more about refining what you already have. With vocabulary, for instance, it's about stopping yourself from using the same basic words for everything. Instead of saying good for every positive thing, you start using words like beneficial, rewarding, effective.
Same with bad. You've got terrible, disappointing, inadequate. Or instead of always saying you're happy, you might say you're thrilled, content, satisfied. It's not complicated vocabulary, it's just more precise.
And grammar-wise, you already know the basics. Past, present, future. At B2, you're just combining them more naturally, like using past continuous and past simple together to tell a story. I was working in Madrid when I decided to apply for jobs abroad.
Or you're bringing in those connectors that make everything flow better. However, although, despite, whereas, they're not difficult, but they make a huge difference in how polished you sound.
So if you're at B1 right now and thinking B2 feels miles away, it's really not. It's just about being more intentional with the tools you've already got.
Absolutely. Right, well, that's us for today.
Thanks for sticking with us through the whole episode. We covered quite a bit. Work situations, talking about your current life, moving countries, and hopefully you've picked up some useful insights along the way.
If you're working on your English right now, don't underestimate how much it can change things for you. It opens doors, literally. Better job opportunities, the chance to live somewhere new, connections with people you'd never have met otherwise.
And look, progress isn't always obvious day to day. You might not notice yourself improving, but then suddenly you're in a conversation and you realize you're actually holding your own. That's when it clicks.
So stick with it. Whether you're at B1, pushing toward B2, or anywhere else on your journey, it's worth the effort.
Right. We'll catch you in the next one. Until then, take care.
See you next time.